You've probably heard it your entire life. Eggs are perfect. Eggs are the gold standard. Eggs are the king of protein, and for decades that was the end of the conversation. Eat 2 eggs in the morning and you're set. But what if I told you that there's a humble, affordable, unassuming nut sitting right there in your grocery store? One that not only rivals the protein power of eggs, but may actually make more sense for adults over 60. A nut that requires no cooking, no cleanup, no refrigeration, and no stress. A nut that seniors around the world are beginning to rely on to maintain their strength, their mobility, and their independence. And the crazy part? Most people have no idea this nut has become such a powerful player in senior nutrition. The fact that you clicked on this video might be one of the luckiest choices your muscles will thank you for down the road. Because over the next 20 minutes or so, I'm going to walk you through something that could genuinely shift the direction of your health in the simplest possible way. Not with supplements, not with complicated diets, not with expensive programs, just with a nut you can keep in your pocket. A nut you can snack on anywhere. A nut that's been hiding in plain sight while people search for far more complicated answers. Just with a nutsers, tum-to-cumpit, nut with expensive programs. And if you stay with me until the end of this video, I'll show you exactly how to add it into your routine, exactly how much to use, and exactly why this tiny food can have such a surprisingly big impact as you age. Before we get to the nut, we need to talk about something that almost nobody understands until it's too late. Once you pass age 60, your body undergoes a quiet but profound shift. It's something scientists call anabolic resistance. In simple terms, it means your muscles stop responding to protein the way they used to. At 30 or 40 years old, you could eat a modest amount of protein and your muscles would happily take it in, repair, rebuild, and grow stronger. But after 60, it's like the door to your muscles slowly starts to close. What used to be enough no longer is. To give you an idea of how big this shift is, experts now recommend that adults over 60 increase their protein intake by at least 50% compared to younger adults. That's not a small adjustment. That's not a tweak. That's an entirely different nutritional strategy. A 150-pound adult who used to think 55 grams of protein was enough now needs somewhere between 80 and 110 grams just to maintain the same muscle mass they've had for decades. And when that higher intake doesn't happen, and for nearly half of seniors it doesn't, you start seeing the signs. And the stairs feel slightly harder. Getting out of a deep chair takes an extra push. You avoid carrying heavier grocery bags because you're just tired today. But it's not tiredness. It's not laziness. It's not aging normally. Your body is literally running low on the building blocks it needs. And this is why sarcopenia, the gradual loss of muscle with age, creeps in far earlier and far faster than most people expect. Up to 1 in 4 older adults experience noticeable muscle loss, and most of them don't realize what's happening until they've lost a meaningful amount of strength. The heartbreaking part is that they were often trying to eat healthy. They were following the advice they grew up with: smaller portions, more salads, less fat, lighter breakfasts. But no one told them that the nutritional rules dramatically shift after 60. No one told them that maintaining muscle requires a different strategy than building it in your youth. And no one told them that protein needs don't stay the same for your whole life. Now, here's where the nut comes in, and here's where things get interesting. Because when you start looking at nuts through a protein lens instead of just a snack lens, you discover something shocking. Peanuts, yes, the everyday peanuts you see everywhere, lead the pack with over 7 grams of protein per ounce. Almonds and pistachios follow close behind at around 6 grams per ounce. Cashews come in at a little over 5 grams. Even walnuts, which most people think are just fat, give you more than 4 grams. These numbers are far more meaningful than most people realize, especially when you're aiming for 80 to 100 grams of protein a day. But the nut that changes the entire conversation, the nut that pushes past the usual expectations, the nut that earns its place beside eggs in a way no plant-based food usually does, is the pistachio. Now, most people don't know this, but pistachios are the only tree nut that naturally contain all 9 essential amino acids in meaningful amounts, giving them a complete protein status, usually reserved for animal foods. And when researchers studied how well the body can actually use pistachio protein, they found something astonishing. Using advanced digestibility testing, roasted pistachios scored an impressive 83%. To put that in context, eggs sit at 100%. That means pistachios are much closer to eggs in protein quality than nearly any other plant food on the planet. But here's the real twist. Because when you look at adults over 60, not young athletes, not bodybuilders, not teenagers, when you look specifically at seniors, the story changes. The story changes. A major scientific review in 2024 revealed that for adults over 60, plant protein versus animal protein made no meaningful difference in muscle strength, muscle mass, or physical performance, as long as one thing was equal: total daily protein intake. That's right. The body of a 65-year-old doesn't care nearly as much about where the protein comes from. It cares whether you're getting enough of it. That myth about animal protein always being superior. For seniors, the research simply doesn't support it. And when you combine that with something else that happens with age, reduced stomach acid, slower digestion, and more frequent discomfort with heavy animal foods, you start seeing why nuts may actually work better for many older adults. Eggs, while nutritious, hit the stomach fast. They release a big wave of amino acids all at once. Nuts, on the other hand, release their protein more slowly thanks to their natural fiber. Instead of a rush, you get a steady drip. Instead of one big delivery, you get smaller deliveries over time. And for older adults whose bodies prefer gentle, steady absorption, this can make a meaningful difference. Beyond protein, nuts bring something else to the table, something eggs simply do not: anti-inflammatory compounds, antioxidants, healthy fats that support circulation and help aging cells handle stress. Walnuts carry some of the highest omega-3 content in the plant world. Brazil nuts deliver selenium, one of the most powerful antioxidants your muscles can benefit from. Almonds give vitamin E, a nutrient deeply tied to cell protection. Pecans are loaded with phytonutrients that support overall cellular resilience. These aren't small additions. These are nutrients that aging bodies offer. And when researchers follow older adults over years, measuring who maintains muscle, who loses mobility, who stays independent, they find something remarkable. Seniors who eat nuts regularly, even just a serving a day, tend to maintain slightly higher muscle mass. They tend to maintain better grip strength. They tend to move faster, recover better, and stay physically capable for longer. Not because nuts are magic, but because they fill nutritional gaps that quietly widen as we age. They provide protein, they provide minerals, they provide healthy fats, they provide steady energy, and this is the part most people underestimate: consistency. Because the best protein source in the world means nothing if you can't stick to it every single day. Eggs require cooking. They spoil, they smell, they need refrigeration. They aren't ideal for snacking. Nuts don't ask for anything. No stove, no cleanup, no dishes. You can keep them next to your bed, in your purse, in your car, on your coffee table. And that means seniors actually use them daily, without effort. Now, I know the concern. I hear them constant. Aren't nuts high in calories? Won't they cause weight gain? Isn't plant protein incomplete? Aren't they hard to digest? Let's break these down simply and clearly. First, calories. Even massive global reviews involving hundreds of thousands of people have found that nuts do not cause weight gain. In fact, people often maintain or even improve their weight when they start eating nuts regularly. Why? Because nuts increase fullness. They reduce overeating of less nutritious foods. And the body doesn't fully absorb all the fat in nuts. The natural structure actually prevents complete calorie absorption. Second, you do not need complete proteins at every meal. Your body maintains an amino acid pool and uses it throughout the day. Eating nuts alongside everyday foods automatically creates a complete amino acid profile. Third, digestibility. Nuts are actually well tolerated by most healthy seniors. And if chewing is an issue, so the question becomes, how do you use nuts in a way that supports your strength, your mobility, and your muscle maintenance? The answer is beautifully simple. Just 1 ounce a day. 1 handful. one mini portion. And while any nut is beneficial, pistachios deserve a special place because of that complete protein profile and high potassium content, which many older adults don't get enough of. But variety matters too. Almonds for vitamin E, walnuts for omega-3s, cashews for minerals, Brazil nuts for anti. A mix gives your muscles everything they need to perform at their best. For example, you might start your morning with a spoonful of almond butter on whole grain toast. Enjoy a handful of pistachios mid-morning with your tea or coffee. Add walnuts to your afternoon yogurt or oatmeal. Sprinkle cashews on your evening vegetables or stir-fry. Midgen instead. These tiny additions create a steady stream of fuel that aging muscles absolutely thrive on. And for those living on fixed incomes, there's good news. Nuts are shelf-stable. They don't require electricity. They don't go bad quickly. They're portable. ND Techs, they're portable. And when you consider the nutrition per dollar, not just protein per dollar, they become one of the most cost-effective foods available. 1 ounce of Brazil nuts gives the same magnesium as 10 eggs. 1 ounce of walnuts gives omega-3s that would require over a dozen enriched eggs. When you account for everything, nuts aren't expensive. They're efficient. What I want you to understand is this. You don't need dramatic changes. You don't need new diets. You don't need complicated routines. Something as simple as adding 1 handful of nuts daily can start a chain reaction. More energy, better movement. Timeside. Stronger muscles, more stability, more confidence. And that confidence is priceless. Because when you feel capable in your body, you participate more. You stay active. You stay connected. You stay independent. So here's the challenge, the easiest challenge you'll ever take. Tomorrow morning, before you start your day, place a small container of mixed nuts somewhere you'll see them. Your nightstand, your coffee station, your kitchen counter, and have 1 handful every single day. Whether you're 60, 70, or 90, it's never too late for your muscles to respond. They simply need the right fuel. And this is one of the simplest, safest, and most effective fuels you can give them. Consistent small steps build powerful, life-changing momentum. And your first step is waiting for you in the nut aisle of your grocery store.